What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. Now, I'm not going to lie, times have been tough. We have only had a few points finishes this season, and even in races where we were dead set to get points like the Canadian Grand Prix, we were met with mechanical failures, which resulted in us not getting good points. But this man has been doing a very good job for us. He's been making consistent Q2 appearances in a car which is probably only good enough for that. And so we've decided to re-sign him for the remainder of the season. I don't know if he'll be joining us beyond this season. I don't know if he quite has the pace to help us challenge for the championship. But once we get the car capable of making it into Q3, I have the utmost confidence that Dennis Hauger will be in the points on a regular basis. He almost scored points for us in the French Grand Prix in the previous race. He couldn't quite hold on to it, but you know, he was close. And so I think that we should renew our trust in him, and hopefully we will be able to make our way back into the points in the coming races. It is the Hungarian Grand Prix, and if there is a track that I am actually somewhat confident we can score points at, it would be a track like this one. You know, we have a good chassis and we have a good aero package. In fact, with the most recent upgrade that I had coming on the car, we can't do any more chassis or aero upgrade anymore. So yeah, that's the end of that. The upgrade pathway is done, and the only departments that we can upgrade in now are powertrain and durability, which means that basically once we get those last few powertrain upgrades on the car, we've got two which are in progress, and then we've got to wait for one of them to finish, and then and only then will I be able to do the last one. So probably by about the Japanese Grand Prix, I would say, we will have a fully maxed out car if things go according to plan. Worst case scenario, I could see the latest being sort of Texas, Mexico, that kind of area. But the last few races of the season should be absolute bangers from our end, just in time to try and cover off some of the regulation changes, which I'm anticipating will happen over the course of this season. We're going to get a new MGUH in the car. I think it's only the second one we've taken, and we're at race number 12. So we should be absolutely fine to take our MGUH components to the end of the season with no real issues. And now it is time for us to get into practice for the Hungarian Grand Prix. The aim here has to be getting points. I think if we can't get points here, something is fundamentally wrong, because we should be faster through at least the sort of middle sectors. Maybe not the first sector with those two long straights, but those middle sectors we should be absolutely banging in. We were 8/10 off of Valtteri Bottas, who was the fastest medium compound runner here in practice. So we do have a little bit of work to do maybe, but you know, we at least put in a decent performance, and that's all that we can really hope for. And hopefully we can continue making our way through in qualifying to at least get through to Q3 at a minimum. But probably I want to be looking at, I reckon, you know, top 8, top 7, something like that. That's going to be the ideal scenario. We need to score about, I would say, 6 points per race going forward now. We've got 12 races left to go, and we need to score 63 points for the remainder of the season. So yeah, it's about 5 or 6 points every race for the rest of the season now, on average. I think that, if I'm honest with you, I think that a lot of those points are going to come later in the season. That's what I think. Once we get those car upgrades, then we should be challenging at the front every single time. Then we just need to grab a few podiums, and we will be well on our way to finishing where we need to be. We just need 100 points to meet our sponsorship target for this season, and I also ideally want to finish ahead of Alpine for at least P6 in the Constructors' Championship. Our first flying lap was in the wet, and it was a 1:32.8 that we did on the wet tyres, but the track is drying out all the time, and by the time that the end of the session came around, it was time for intermediate tyres, which was fantastic because I was the last person to cross the line, which means, as I'm sure you can imagine, I was a lot faster than everyone else. We do a 1:28.4, and it's good enough for P1. It's not maybe the most representative time in the world, but if the track continues doing this thing of drying out towards the end of the session, then maybe, just maybe, there exists a chance of us sneaking a pole position here like we did. I don't think we got... Actually, we didn't get pole position last season, did we? But we were pretty close. Or did we get pole position? We might have had pole, actually. I can't remember. I know we definitely did that in China last year, but I can't remember if we did that in Hungary as well. But I know that we were right up there in Hungary last season, at least until our car broke down. Eliminated there was Joe, Hauger, De Vries, Hulkenberg, Fittipaldi and Lawson. A little bit disappointing that we've re-signed Hauger and he's immediately gone and had his first Q1 exit in, what, 5 races, something like that. Very disappointing. But hopefully we can at least get through to Q3 to make up for his failures as we're still on the intermediate tyres for the time being. It's a 126.4 from us this time, so the track definitely still drying out further than it was when we were in Q1. This is Q2, of course. We're currently in P6 with that run, but we were all the way down in P16 because the track has dried out and everyone else has done a run at this point. We're kind of in the middle of a bunch of cars who have already, run on a set of soft compound tyres. So it's hard to say whether we're going to make it through necessarily until we come up to the line. It's certainly looking good. You know, Sainz is on a 120.2 and we have already improved by 8.4 seconds. It's going to be at least a 117. And as we cross the line, it's a 117.6. And where does that put us this time? It's P1 again. The only problem I have now is that we are probably going to be struggling to do what we did in the last two sessions in Q3 if the track is already dry. So yeah, it's a 117.6, 1.6 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Obviously he was still on a drying track, whereas the track was pretty much entirely dry by the time that we got there. And Gasly, Ocon, Sainz, Albon, Tsunoda and Sargent are all eliminated there. So we have definitely out-qualified our rivals there, and I think in doing so we actually have probably won the rivalry over Esteban Ocon, so that's quite nice to see as well. Means we will be bumping up the difficulty somewhat for the following race, which will be the Belgian Grand Prix, of course. But let's focus on the Hungarian Grand Prix for now, and we do a 1:15.0 as our first flying lap in Q3. Keep getting the qualifying numbers wrong, but yeah, Q3 first flying lap 1:15.0. But we managed to find a bit more improvement over that in the following lap that we do on another fresh set of soft compound tyres. We're 3/10 up at the moment, and if we can get a good run through these last few corners, then maybe we could challenge for pole position here. I don't know what the top time is at the moment. Stroll there on a 1:14.8. We're definitely going to beat him because we're about 4/10 up. As we come around the final corner, it's 3.5 tenths. It's dropping off a bit. 1:14.6 is our final time, and that is good enough for P5. Decent result from us, and certainly somewhere that we are going to be able to fight from when the Grand Prix comes around.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top three: Bottas, Leclerc and George Russell. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid line up for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Valtteri Bottas snags pole position, and George Russell is finally maybe back where he belongs in P3. Maybe he can get some good points on the board here and make sure that he doesn't fall out of championship contention. He's only a few points ahead of the nearest sort of chasing pack now after having a really torrid run of races. He won the first 5 races this season, and since then things have really not been good for him. So yeah, disappointing times for George Russell. But we'll see if he can bounce back here in the Hungarian Grand Prix at long last. But he will, of course, be behind his teammate for the race because Bottas has qualified on pole position. It's P5 for us, P18 for Dennis Hauger. Hopefully he can make his way through the field at least a little bit. If he finishes P18 or lower, then something has gone seriously wrong for Dennis there. You know, qualifying, you can have the occasional blunder, but in the race you need to make those positions up, especially in a car like ours. You just need to get ahead of all of those teams that are behind us. And let's see what we can do as we get into the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Button, Hill, Alonso and Kovalainen, the names of the drivers who had their breakthrough in Budapest, winning their first Grand Prix right here. We're in the northeast of Budapest for the race today then, at the 2.7 mile Hungaroring circuit. 14 corners here, 8 to the right and 6 to the left, on a track where downforce is king and passing is notoriously difficult. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Russell, Oscar Piastri, Robinson, Magnussen, Stroll, Verstappen, Norris, Perez, Gasly, Ocon, Sainz, Albon, Tsunoda, Sargent, Joe, Hauger, De Vries, Hulkenberg, Fittipaldi and Liam Lawson. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And joining me again for the race today, Natalie Pinkham. Let's talk about Robinson. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within the team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do. And that has definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
I'm not really sure what performances we're talking about here exactly, because yeah, I've had 2 podiums this season, but generally speaking, we've been a long way off where we were last season. At this point during the season last season, we already had probably I think we had about 80 points or something like that. We're only at about not even half that total this season. We've only had, what, 3 points finishes? Well, 4 I guess if you include the sprint in Austria, because we scored points in both the sprint and the race. But yeah, apart from that, the 2 podiums are the only points finishes we've had all season. So I don't really see how they can argue that you know, I'm having a good season or anything like that. I think if anything, we're probably having the most difficult season we've had since we started in Formula 1. And obviously these upgrades are coming, but they haven't arrived yet, which means we've just got to try and make do with what we've got. At this high downforce circuit, this might be one of our best opportunities to score points. So we're going to have to see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out, and we've gotten away very well compared to George Russell there, and also compared to Charles Leclerc as well, and we make our way through and up into P3, but Russell is going to fight us back on the run down to turn 1. He's defending to the inside. We're going to try and go around the outside of him if we possibly can, and we are wheel to wheel through the first corner. We just about managed to stay ahead of him, but he's going to fight us back on the run down to turn 2. Are we going to dive up the inside? Yes, we do. We sneak up the inside. I don't know how I managed to find traction riding that curb as much as I did, but somehow we have held on and we are in P3. We're currently fighting for a podium here in Budapest, and already Bottas and Piastri have broken away by over a second ahead of me. So yeah, I don't think that we're going to be making any more progress, because I'm not even going to get DRS to them once lap 3 runs around. So it's going to be tricky, but yeah, I have the utmost confidence that that we will be able to at least score a few points here. It's got to be P7, I'd say, is the target here, because that's the amount of points we're going to need to be scoring on a consistent basis. George Russell tries to dive up the inside, and we actually make a bit of contact there. I hope that that hasn't caused any damage, not to me certainly, but we'll see what effect it has on George Russell. Now, he actually has fallen back through these corners quite a little bit. I don't know if that's just because I'm running higher downforce or what's the deal, but it certainly looks like he's going a little bit abnormally slowly. So perhaps George Russell does have some kind of issue. You know, he's closing me up absolutely fine on the straight. He makes up like, what, 2/10 on the run down the straight, but through the corners it seems like he's just having a real issue at the moment. So yeah, he's fallen away quite dramatically as we make our way onto lap 5. And once again, George Russell having an absolute mare, just can't seem to get it together after those first 5 races. No matter how hard he tries, it's not working out for him. Lance Stroll tries to go at the inside of me. I'm wise to it though, and I hold on around the outside. He's going to try and go around the outside this time at turn 2, but he can't quite make the move stick, and we have held on to this P3 for the time being. But Lance Stroll is going to try and close us down again. He's going to try and go for a Hamilton-esque move up the inside as we get into turn 4, and well, he actually manages to pull it off around the outside. So yeah, really impressive stuff from Stroll, and up into the podium positions now for the Canadian in the Aston Martin. And now we are coming under pressure from former world champion Max Verstappen. He's obviously a 2-time world champion in this save, and by the time you're watching this video, he will be not long before it's a 3-time world champion in real life, I imagine. Hopefully this is coming out on Friday night, so it will be less than 24 hours before Max Verstappen is crowned world champion, if my calculations are correct. And well, he is making a very good overtake on me there, up into P4, up the inside, where Lance Stroll opted to go for the outside. Max Verstappen chose the inside, and it worked out for both of them. We're down into P5. On the mediums, it's not easy to defend from these guys on the softs, as I am discovering as Leclerc makes his way through with the DRS. That was a complete non-contest, quite frankly. Even on lap 12, they still have superior tyres to me, and now we're coming under pressure from Lando Norris as well, who with the DRS is going to try and get up the inside of us, and he's going to make the move stick, I think. Maybe we're going to be able to hold on around the outside, but not quite. We just don't seem to have the grip compared to him, so we're going to have to make our way through, and yeah, we are up into or down into P7, I should say, as Norris makes his way up into P6. But yeah, we'll see what we can do. Hopefully we can hold on to this P7. Magnussen's a long way off of us still. Now we are looking at Lance Stroll in the battle with Max Verstappen, but something has happened here with Lance Stroll. He's had an engine failure or a gearbox failure or something, but for the 3rd race in a row, Lance Stroll will be retiring from the Grand Prix. He retired in Britain due to a mechanical failure. He retired in France due to a mechanical failure. And he retires in Hungary due to a mechanical failure. And then not a moment later, on the same lap, Lando Norris is round, and that was enough to trigger a safety car. Both the DNF and the spin from Norris has brought out a safety car. We are only a few laps out of our pit stop anyway, so we are going to be coming into the pits, and we are going to be covering off just about everyone, I would have to imagine, as we come in. We're going to be putting on a set of hard compound tyres to the end. This might work out in our favour, because a lot of the soft runners are going on to the mediums. Can the mediums do 20 laps? We're going to find out, but certainly the hards have a much better chance of doing 20 laps. I know obviously that they're going to be running under the safety car for at least a few of these laps, so I think they should be fine for the most part. But I can't shake the feeling that maybe we might be quite fast compared to other people towards the end of this race. That would be the ideal situation, but whether that actually works out in reality, I don't know whether it will or not. The unfortunate thing is that Magnussen and Ocon were quite far behind us before this safety car, and now, you know, a few of them are right behind us basically as Gasly peels into the pits at the end of that safety car. Magnussen is in P7. Norris obviously was behind us, oh sorry, ahead of us before the safety car. It was him who brought it out with his spin though, so that explains why he's now behind us. And then yeah, Magnussen and Ocon are just behind now. A lot less than 15 seconds the gap to Ocon. It's down to just, I think, about a second or so. So we're really going to have to try and fight hard if we want to hold on to at least P7 here. 16 laps to go in the Hungarian Grand Prix. It is really going to be difficult to maintain the gap to these guys. But fortunately, there is a severe lack of overtaking opportunities here at the Hungaroring. And so the only place that I need to defend at all is going to be down into turn 1 and turn 2. And if I can keep these guys behind through these turns, we should be absolutely fine. Norris closing us up a little bit, but I am informed that he's got an issue, which is actually making him quite slow through the corners, I believe. So that is going to allow us to break away from him before we get to the DRS zone again, I hope. But it will also leave him susceptible to Magnussen, which means Magnussen might try and find his way through. And indeed, you can see as we make our way onto lap 24, both Magnussen and Ocon have got through on Norris, and Magnussen is now attacking me down into turn 1. We're going to try and go around the outside of him. But keep in mind, he is going to have the DRS here, so I don't know if we're going to be able to hold on to this. We squeeze him right to the inside. We're not going to give him any more room than he absolutely needs, and we're going to try and go up the inside. But I don't know if we quite have the tyre grip to do this. We're still wheel to wheel, and in the end, we just get absolutely bullied out of it by Magnussen, and we are down into P6, and now we've only got one more position to lose before we are going to be potentially, you know, falling too far away from where we need to be. You know, I want to be at least P7, and we're currently P6, and Ocon is putting a lot of pressure on us as he dives up the inside at turn 1. I once again squeeze him as far to the inside as I can without making contact, and that does hold him up a little bit, and that might have just stemmed the attack from the Frenchman for now. But I wouldn't be surprised, and you shouldn't be surprised, if he does come fighting back later in this Grand Prix. You know, there's still 8 laps to go, and he's right on my tail, and I am starting to struggle a little bit. I don't know what's happening, but the car doesn't feel quite as good as it's felt around here for the start of the race. It's really starting to drop off a little bit. I don't know if it's the tyres wearing out maybe, but we did a really bad lap on lap 31, and that allowed Ocon to catch right up to us. He's going to try and go around the outside at turn 1 here, but we dive a little bit up the inside, and Ocon actually goes for the switchback there and pulls it off, and I think that might be the last we see of him here, unless we can fight him back right now. We almost go into the back of him into turn 2, and yeah, I think Ocon has made the move up into P6, and now we just need to defend like hell from Sainz and Perez, because we cannot afford to lose any more positions. Norris just down on those 2 guys as well. The nearest car after that is actually Hauger, who's in P11. So he's doing really well right now, fighting with Gasly. But as we make our way onto the final lap, if you look at the mini-map, you will see that Gasly has now got ahead of Hauger, and Hauger has been relegated to P12. But still, fantastic result from him, all things considered. P18 to P12 is a good result. So I'm very happy with the performance that he showed here. And now it's just about bringing it home. Sainz is only a few tenths behind us, but he hasn't really mounted any more of a challenge on us after Ocon overtook us. There was nothing that we really had to worry about. Valtteri Bottas picks up the victory, and he's he's going on a bit of a streak now. I feel like Bottas is always winning lately. He's doing a pretty good job. I know Norris won in France, But, you know, Bottas has really taken up the mantra of maybe the star driver at Mercedes, because Russell's kind of been absent recently. But as for us, we are going to round the final corner and come on the run to the checkered flag in P7, which is exactly where we wanted to be.
Okay,
6 hard-earned points, and maybe there still exists a chance of us meeting this sponsorship obligation. But there is going to be a lot more work to do on the road to 100 points, and we're going to have to be up to the task if we want any chance of making that objective.
It's victory in Budapest then, and what a victory it is after an incredible Grand Prix. Natalie, fill us in. What was it that helped the team achieve their success today?
Well, confidence breeds confidence. Success breeds success. They are very much enjoying a purple patch right now.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
Valtteri Bottas with the victory then, and he is flanked by Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen on the podium after Lance Stroll's DNF. It was just these three out in front with not a care in the world, really. So yeah, congratulations to Bottas. Another hard-earned victory. Maybe he's getting himself involved in the championship fight. Wouldn't that be a turn up for the books? Both of these men that join him on the podium also involved in the championship fight, and all of their teammates too, potentially still in it. We could have a 6-way battle for the championship fight. 11 races to go. We'll see what happens.
Our championship leader is still sat at the top of the standings, but their rivals have made up some solid ground today. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
That's got to be the Flying Finn. Wait, how many Flying Finns have we got now? Anyway, I'm talking about Bottas this time. Just great raw speed and a good job in the traffic as well.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Well, we've upped our points total to 43, so we are looking good. We're once again maybe back on track to reach this 100 points target. I think it's going to take all season, to be honest with you. I know there was a comment on my Australian GP video, which feels like it was a lifetime ago now, but in reality it was only about a week ago, where someone was suggesting that I should sort of sack off any kind of development once I reach 100 points and just focus everything for Season 4 when I can actually mount a title push. But honestly, I think even reaching 100 points is going to take us the majority of the season now. We have just not had the car to sort of contend at the front like we did for a lot of last season. The teams around us have made some really solid gains, and it's really worked out for them. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of has taken me by surprise a little bit, just how much we've been lacking in pace this season. But yeah, meanwhile in the Drivers' Championship fight, there are a couple drivers, I think it's Bottas and Piastri, who are 16 points off of Russell now. Somehow, despite having 7 not great weekends in a row, George Russell is still leading the championship by 16 points. I don't know how he's holding on to this, but I mean, I guess if he could just fluke his way to a good result here and there every now and again, maybe, yeah, maybe that's enough. I don't know. I'm not him, but maybe that's his tactic, because he's certainly making it work right now. Yeah, just a really, really surprising kind of downtick in performance for the two-time world champion, who looked at the start of the season almost certain to become a 3-time world champion. Now it's not even looking certain that he's going to be, you know, on top for the next race at the rate we're going. You know, if he has another stinker and Bottas or Piastri picks up the win, or, well, any of the drivers who are really that close to him, I think, you know, we could be looking at a new championship leader. And this is going to be a really interesting battle that, well, if it continues like this, it could end up going down to the wire. And I think the same is going to be said of our battle with Alpine as well, quite frankly, because they're picking up some fringe points every now and again. You know, they outscored us today with Ocon getting a P6 finish. But once we get a few more upgrades on the car, I think we should be right back with them, hopefully, and making our attempt at finishing at least P6 in the Constructors. Maybe we can even get back at Aston Martin and Ferrari as well. I think the top 3 teams are going to be too hard to catch. We win the rivalry with Ocon. It's over. 6 points ahead. He can't catch us anymore no matter what he does. So yeah, that's a rivalry one for us. We will be bumping back up to 97 difficulty starting at the Belgian Grand Prix next time out. That race, historically, not gone so well for me. So I'm not expecting big things, especially with our lack of engine power. But we do have upgrades which are on the way for the Dutch Grand Prix the race after. So definitely lots of things to look forward to coming up. And hopefully those upgrades will help us to fight towards the front once again. But that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe. And hopefully I will see you in the next one.